Good evening to you all. So, welcoming you to the workshop session of Me Health International Conference 2021. So, we have with us Dr. Asha Banu Soliti, who is a faculty at the Center of Health and Mental Health at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So, she will be the facilitator for this session. So, this is supposed to be an interactive session. So, if you have having any doubt, please do ask. And there is also a chat option. You can make use of that as well. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you, Anaga.
Do we have
Um,
any agenda for this?
we don't have any agenda. This is like a workshop wherein we are going to discuss on the particular topic each of us are assigned. It's
Okay,
basically an
stigma.
interactive session. Yeah, the topic is stigma. So, good evening, all. Considering that we are only few of us, I think it's even less than 10. Can we see each other? Can we put our videos on? And also, can we introduce ourselves because we are only 6 or 7 in number? And then I can take
Just
through the
like
slides. Yeah. And also inviting one of our investigators of the research project, Armenia. She is from Middlesex University. I think she can also contribute because she's done substantial work in stigma reduction. And I would request Laxi, Vinu, and others also because we are few. Can we take one minute to introduce Bindu, Rachit, Neha? You want to or you don't want to?
hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Bindu's there. Vishnu, Rachit. Okay. Okay. So people have Bindu's here. Just to understand, because it's a workshop and there may be diverse groups, and also to pitch the workshop because it should not be like basic as we pitch for students. So I thought it's important to know each other. If there are people who have already worked in the mental health sector, then we can take the workshop in a different way. So that's the reason I'm asking. So Bindu, your
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm working in St. Teresa's College, the psychology department head. I'm the head of the department there.
Okay.
So yeah, so I joined this because it's a little personal because just recently one of my student, she committed suicide after having a fight with her parents on an issue, on a very trivial issue, and she committed suicide because she wanted to scare them. She was expecting that her mother would enter the room and kind of save her because she was anticipating the time, but that didn't happen, and it was a bit late. And even prior to this, she was having problems at home. And when I asked her friends that why wouldn't she come and talk to us, and they said that her mother used to tell her that you cannot embarrass us. You can even when I tell students that you can come and talk to us and be open about your problems, her mother used to say, "Yeah, go and insult us, go embarrass us, and go." That kind of a stigma. So that is why I entered this room particularly because even among students, they don't come forward and talk about the problems that they have, whether it is anything to do with self-harming, taking drugs, drinking, being promiscuous. So that's the
Yeah.
reason why I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And I can see Rachit has put that he's from the social media side. And I think if quickly we can introduce, otherwise we can go ahead with the share screen and start the session. And yes, this is like Bindu's sharing also helped, because we are also connected by passion on a particular theme because of some instance, and we come together on certain themes. So it's important. I will start. Actually, I created some activity in the beginning. um, should I start with the activity because it's going to be very preliminary? The activity is each of us are teaching and all of us are part of the community. I really wanted to say a few words uh, when you think of a person with mental illness. Just like a word description, even you can put on the chat. So, what comes to your mind when you think of a person with mental illness? some 2-3 words on the chat box if I can see. Am I audible? Because I am not able to see. Yeah, Armenia's put needs kindness, distress, disability, resilience, psycho. Okay. Any other? Okay. Think of a person before you who, if at all you've seen, or if at all you've seen from the movies, a depiction of a person with mental illness. What are some of the aspects that you've seen? Okay, this is the description. The person is unkempt, disabled. What is the description of a person with mental illness that you've seen? Either when you are like either you're engaged, maybe you're a caregiver, or you've met a student like Bindu just mentioned, or movies. In movies, what is the depiction that you've seen? So violent, ranting and raving, joke should be away from them. Okay. Sitting lonely, drinking, smoking. Okay. Lonely. Okay. So ganja. Okay. Interesting. So this is very important. When I teach in a master's program, when I'm asking students to describe, they always start with violent, they start with angry outbursts, they talk about unkempt, not sleeping, not talking, they are mute, emotional extremities. So they keep listing like that. I always ask the students immediately, how many of you can explain that none of you have experienced this, whatever is listed on the board? Okay. So when there are 20 odd students in the class, there will be 20 to 30 words that comes on the board, like either talking too much, not talking, violent, not eating, overeating, not taking bath, um, walking, pacing, all of these. And there'll be 20, 25. When I ask students, how many of you have never experienced even for a short span of time? Then everyone will say, no, I've experienced some of it. Maybe I have not, heard voices, but then all the other aspects I've experienced. So I actually tell them these are emotions, and emotions are common for all. And with mental health vulnerabilities, what happens to certain people, and all of us are part of a spectrum. It's not like that some are there and healthy, and some of us are experiencing ill health. So that becomes discontinuous. We are in a continuum that because of stressors, we may keep moving between one, the positive frame, to the negative. And because of the support mechanisms we have, the literacy, the education, the resources we have, we move back to positive mental health. But unfortunately, certain people who do not have the resources move towards distress and poor mental health. So why I'm saying this is, often what happens is we are putting into two clusters: normal, abnormal, healthy, mentally not healthy. And what happens, the stereotype starts emanating from there, because there is a label. These are persons with mental illness, and we start viewing those people with those labels. So with this introduction, I thought this should be an icebreaker, but still it is not breaking the ice. None of you have started speaking. So I will move forward with the slides here. Okay. So this is the technical definition of stigma. The phenomena whereby an individual with an attribute which is deeply discredited by his or her society is rejected as a result of the attribute, occurs when an individual is identified as deviant, linked with negative stereotypes that endanger that engender prejudiced attitudes which are acted upon in discriminatory behavior, major barrier to recovery for people with mental illness. So here the attribute can be this is so difficult when I can't see you. So the attribute, like certain things, sometimes we often use, even with regard to senior citizens. Often there are these attributes, fragility, wrinkles, disability, some attribute which really results in a discriminatory behavior. Like for example, mobility related issues. Often we can say, oh, why these people are coming and standing in a queue? They are actually disrupting because of their slow movement, they are creating chaos here. Okay, we do that, right?
Yes.
Because it's something that it's not a very favorable, and all of us hold it. We connect to some attribute, and we have kind of discrimination associated with that, and often this becomes a major recovery for people with mental illness.
This stigma is happening all over the world, whether it is
Yes.
European, American, third world countries. I mean, all over the world, I mean, same. There is no difference.
Yeah.
And
So we are
even education may not eliminate all these issues, because as we are human beings, we have limitations.
But still, and that's what is the session also, that we will have to think of strategies.
Yeah.
So that's the session, because if you are often going to go into that justification point of view, then the stigma may persist. It's very important to engage, and I've also looked at some of Professor Erminia, who is also joined this session. I will request her also to talk some of her work, which is really addressed. And we are also looking in terms of emancipatory work, wherein the individual has agency to overcome the discriminatory behavior of the society. We will come back to that. We will go to that. So basically, it's with an attribute which is deeply discredited. The kind of what to say, dualism, ability, disability, normal, abnormal. So there is one attribute which is always discredited by the society and gets rejected because of that particular attribute. So it can be mental illness, it can be disability, it can be aging, it can be any kind of attributes. And often, if that is a little deviant from the normal scenario, then it becomes a negative stereotype. And particularly with regard to persons with mental illness, it becomes a major barrier. So, why this happens? It is because prejudice and in group favoritism. When I introduced, I spoke about how we have to think in terms of human beings in continuum. Like somebody mentioned now, all of us have our limitations, all of us have problems, etc. But then what's happening is, when it comes to us, that would be viewed from a particular way. But when we are often considering someone as an out group, then there is a discriminatory behavior. So there is something like normal, we are functional, we are working, we are efficient, that becomes there. And when somebody is not fitting into the frame that we are defining to the so-called normalcy, there are certain prejudices. That prejudices results in a behavior that is discrimination, and the discrimination results in stereotyping. That is in our cognition, we start deciding that we put into boxes, black, white, possible, not possible, and that further creates prejudices, and it's a vicious cycle. So our strategies has to start breaking this vicious cycle of affect behavior and stereotyping. So the cognitive component in our perceptions of group members is the stereotype, the positive or negative beliefs that we hold about the characteristics of social group. So often we have stereotypes, right? Um, some of the examples of stereotype is, there are lots of stereotypes, right? State-wise stereotypes are also there, no? We have state-wise stereotypes, country-wise stereotypes. We have a lot of Malayali stereotypes. Yes. What are some of the stereotypes?
Yeah,
Can you
that
give
is true. That
example?
is true. We are calling people lunatic, mad. In Malayalam, we can say brand.
Okay. Okay, I'll come with a simpler example. Now, in terms of old age, okay, often students ask in the class, somebody in the Indian context dressed in a particular way. Okay. Now, if all of you are from Kerala, I will request Anaga to tell the name because I often forget that particular name. A senior citizen who is a serial star was into controversy in Kerala because older women are expected to dress in a particular way, and that too in Kerala. But she was dressed in a short jean and a t-shirt. So actually, the social media ripped her apart. Okay, there are stereotypes. Okay, senior citizens can do ABC. Senior citizens should dress in a particular way. Women have certain sets of stereotypes, laughing, talking, defined. So there are lots of stereotypes. Okay, so then those stereotypes result in other aspects. Now I will come to that when I start sharing the further slides. So there are stereotypes, there are cultural related stereotypes, age related stereotypes, gendered stereotypes, and it's part of our everyday life. Without realizing, we keep reiterating some of these stereotypes often. Okay. So the positive or negative beliefs that we hold about the characteristics of the group, in addition to our stereotypes, we may also develop prejudice and justifiable negative attitude toward an outgroup or toward the members of this outgroup. Stereotypes and our prejudices are problematic because they may create discrimination, that is unjustified negative behavior towards members of the outgroups based on their group membership. So to simplify, I'm going to use this chart with an example, particularly for persons with mental illness. The stereotype is disrespectful attitude about a labeled group. For example, persons with mental illness, the stereotypes are already some of that we saw in the chat box. Violent, we saw. We are using psycho. We are using lunatic. We keep talking about rights. We are talking about dignity. But at the same time, when we are putting what are some of the thoughts that come to us, we are using. So these are labels. So people with mental illness are dangerous, unpredictable, incompetent are the stereotype. So what becomes the prejudice? Agreement with a stereotype leading to a negative emotion. For example, we start giving dangerous, I fear them. Because I fear them, I do not want to work with them. Or they are dangerous, so I do not want them in my close circle. Unpredictable, so I don't trust them. I don't want to give them a responsibility because they come up with bunch of excuses. Then there is a stereotype, common stereotype is incompetent, inefficient. Because they are incompetent and inefficient, I feel all the time angry or ridiculed at a particular group. So stereotype, then there are these negative emotions leading to discrimination. We don't hire them, we do not give housing, or there are providers who offer worse care because we justify that these are people who are dangerous, and we justify our act by stating that ABCD. So because of that, we are also not able to recruit them. Okay, they are violent, that's the reason we are chaining them. They are violent, because of that we are arresting them. Okay, so this is an unconscious process, and all of us go through this stereotype, prejudice, discrimination. And often I've asked my own friends, or even in my own family, I'll always ask my mom, can we employ someone who is in the recovery phase from an organization which is working in the southern part of India? My mom will always say, but I'm staying alone. How can a daughter do this to me? How can you hire somebody who is on recovery mode and taking medications here? What will happen if she becomes a risk to me? Okay, So these are the larger societal attitudes, and we are not addressing this attitude. When we are looking at recovery, it is also about them engaging in purposeful roles. But because of the larger societal attitudes, we are not able to help people in their recovery process. We are not able to get them a sense of working, engaging in a meaningful role, etc. So this is the process that's very important. In the beginning, one of our participants shared the experience of why she's here. That's also particularly because this is the kind of, you know, thought process. For the parents, it would be shame. What the community will think. Okay, maybe it is a behavioral problem. Can we delay? Or will advice ease this? Because we are in a continuous denial that we are not part of that abnormal group. So always people delay in approaching because people know that they will fall into this particular trap, and there will be lots of discrimination and associated shame and stigma with that. So while in the larger society, stereotype informing prejudice, prejudice informing discrimination, what happens is there is internalized stereotype and people experience self stigma. Person with mental health condition internalizes stereotypes and diminishes sense of self-esteem and self-efficacy, leading to why should I try kind of effect. So um, here I would stop and take some questions if you have. And also I wanted to share here, it's not that mental health experts are free of stigma, and in the mental health system also it happens often. I read this users blogs where one of the user have mentioned that she was very happy that she wanted to go, that's her first day in the job. She has got a new job and she was very happy about that, and everything in her life was going very well. So she wanted to drop by her therapist's room to say thank you, and I'm doing very well and I'm going. So she was brightly dressed up. So the therapist looked at her and said, "Hope you are not in your manic episode," because she was dressed up, that she is going. So it's the label. The therapist also want to see with that label. Okay, it's not like, oh, I am as a human very happy because it's a new job, a new relationship, I'm going. But because I've dressed up very well, the therapist immediately looked at, hope you're okay and it's not your manic episode. And the user wrote how it hurt her very much that often people view the person with the illness lens and not, and moving towards normalizing never happens in her life, but because people always want to see her every move from the point of view of that particular illness lens. So any questions so far?
Now
Thank
the
you,
thing is,
Vishnu. Definitely, as part of training, I'm often focusing mostly on the symptoms, and that is our drawback as well. There are lots of interesting artists. There are museums in a European world where users have created. There is creativity. There are lots of strengths. There are achievements. But then, what may happen is, um, you know, it's very difficult that we look at only the symptoms and we put them into boxes and labels, and that's very unfortunate. Yes. Any other question here, or should I move?
do we have any particular methodology to apply in the context of stigma?
We will discuss. We will come to that. Let's see. So from here, I'm taking to the next level. As I spoke, there is interpersonal stigma. Users will never come forward and share. We can really understand what happened, the entire process of Deepika Padukone, but there are very rare, names that we can cite that people are very vocal and coming and talking, um, because of the stigma. And the self stigma is, I want to accept the label. And often I've heard students saying, but I have depression, I am supposed to be like this. Oh, it's okay that I can push submission of my assignments because I have a mental health concern. But we often say that do not fit within that label, because that also stops people from making efforts. And intrapersonal stigma also is influenced by the interpersonal stigma, because there is ignorance, there is misinformation in terms of problems, um, prejudice, problems in attitudes, discriminatory behavior, even at home. People will always, and thankfully, there are a number of campaigns that are coming up comparing with physical health and mental health concerns, and why often people should stop using that language of get up, it's behavioral, it's all in your mind, you're faking it, you're pretending. So, all such aspects are definitely pushing the young adults to take the utmost self harm measure, or also this is what is causing suicidal ideation, because when a person's emotion is not getting validated, and when a person is being ridiculed for the distress they are going through, then what happens is that pushes person towards, you know, the self harm measures or suicidal ideation. Then there is structural stigma, discriminatory social structures, the policies and legislations, and poor and inadequate quality of mental health care services. So, all of these are interrelated. We keep talking. We have this UNCRPD, United Nations Conventions of Rights of Persons with Disability. We keep talking about rights. We keep talking about abilities. We keep talking about building agency. But the documents definitely are looking at languages and how to refine languages to move towards, uh, emancipatory work in the field of mental health. But often, what happens is there is this kind of um, disparity between what's in the policy framework and how that's getting translated into systems. Like, for example, if we move into institutional frame, we can see how there is no sense of agency even in terms of my own body. That is, no agency, or that my the doubt in terms of my ability in taking my own medication, the doubts in terms of my ability to consume my food, the ability in terms of treatment adherence, the ability in terms of what to wear, what not to wear, activities of daily living. And in that process, what's happening is the extreme dependency. And then we are creating the same narrative. They are too dependent, they are too dependent, because our interventions are not emancipatory in nature. And that's the reason now we are moving from a institutional to a community frame. And in the community, the language also has to change. That is from dependency to independent living, to a person who requires support. Yes, it is important, but again, a sense of agency. It should not be like welfareistic and charitable, but in terms of a strengths-based model where the person is going to take charge of the life. And also, when we are looking at recovery, it is not just pills, it's just not the medication, but how the entire society creates a platform where the individual is stepping forward in his own personal recovery phase. That is, engaging in a particular job, having a meaningful relationship, having peers, and having and moving towards a normal life. Now, what's happening is that's not happening at all. What we talk about stigma, the important part, we always talk about treatment gap. We say because of stigma, people are delaying to approach the facility. While that is there, the important challenge is also that we are influencing their recovery. People are taking pill, hiding. People are taking pill, hiding. I don't want to discuss about my, mental illness in the larger community. Even in some of the narratives, one of the digital stories when I saw, I heard that I will take tablets. That's in my privacy. That's very important. No need to talk. Confidentiality is important. But at the same time, the shame construct was coming again and again. If all of you here can understand Malayalam, I found Nanakede is a frequently used term in many of the narratives. Why you don't want to speak about it? It's Nanakede. Don't want to get married because there is shame. I don't want my neighbor to know because it's shame. There is this Nanakede as a word which is used again and again, which is very important for the Kerala communities also to think about. What is it so important that so scared of, the immediate neighborhood? And whatever came when Bindu shared also is that they delayed because they did not want that public stigma or taboo talking about their own families. That's also because of the social consequences associated with that illness in that particular family.
Ma'am, we have 7 minutes left.
Okay, I'm completing. So the consequences are on the larger society, on the survivors and families: shame, isolation, treatment delay, continued stigmatization, poverty, at times physical abuse, coercion, human rights violations, physical ill health, and othering. So some of the strategies, even in India, now we have started. This is the Mad Pride. Banyan keeps organizing Mad Pride, wherein they speak very boldly and vocally. And 2019 emphasized on inclusion. So Mad Pride is where people visibilize. Okay, so what? This is how we live, and people keep talking about their illness, and people walk and parade on public spaces to create also awareness on what it means to live with mental illness and what's the kind of support people may need and what real inclusion is. So Mad Pride is one of the strategy which the country has begun. It's a very important move, but in the developed context, Mad Pride has started even in 1990s, where survivors, users walk together to create awareness on living and lived experiences of mental illness. The other strategies is how to promote health literacy, education, and awareness in terms of discontinuing use of discriminatory and stigmatizing terms for people with mental health disorders. You know, it cannot be adjectives. It cannot be depressed, schizophrenic, psychotic, because they are individuals with multiple identities. They are human beings first. And that's why it's very important to remove the discriminatory, stigmatizing terms. We should stop using psychotic. We should stop using schizophrenic, because that is not your identity. That is just one aspect of the illness. So, our contribution can be how we start refining our own languages. Then it's very important through the literacy. How do we collaborate with institutions? How do we start talking in schools? How do we break the burst the taboos within the schools? How to create context specific mental health policies and interventions? There are several models that are coming up which facilitates people to talk openly in schools on what's happening with their emotions, and when they're not feeling well they walk, and there are peer counselors that are created in schools, etc. Engage media and public personalities to reinforce a positive mental health agenda. Involve patients and their families in the delivery and monitoring of mental health care. So, while this becomes one strategy, it's also very important locally to take up anti stigma initiatives. When we are finding something on the movie which is stigmatizing a particular identity, then it's very important to create an anti stigma initiative and a campaign. So that's very important, and there are lots of movies that are coming up talking about Mad Pride identity as anti-stigma campaigns. Then it's very important to work towards moving towards pride from shame, and moving from vulnerability to sense of agency, and also to create a space where there is a sense of belonging. And it's very important to understand there are multiple identities. The person may be a mother, the person may be a working father, the person may be a scientist, the person may be anything. That the campaigns and constantly bringing forth users to take charge for themselves, and how are we going to work with them on that. So I think I will conclude with this. The one important point I want to leave is stigma and discrimination in impediment in recovery. There are lots of persons with mental illness struggling to seek care. They are very hesitant to take the first step. Even if they are taking the first step, they have to live a difficult and different life because they are not able to reveal their illness, and that has repetitive social consequences. And all of us have our own internalized stereotypes, and it starts with us. It's very important to break those notions in us before stepping to the next level of interpersonal and the societal level attitudes. So we have to be very vigilant, and we have to be, and also Malayalam cinemas, lots of movies have started highlighting, and uh, some of the movies are very interesting. I'm not able to recall the name, that has depicted OCD, obsessive compulsive, with Fahad Fasil. That was very nicely done. But there are some movies which reiterates discriminatory behavior. It's very important to voice our concerns then and there when larger mainstream movie is creating discriminatory practices. And yes, we have to make people to take up the challenges of Nanaked. And that's, I don't know, that's one important construct that I have heard again and again. Shame is very deep rooted, and people often talk about mental illness or why you are not talking about it. In most of the narratives, I found shame taking one space there, that we are ashamed of talking, what people will think of us. So that's very important. Yeah, thank you, Anaga. That movie is not 24 Kadam. And there was one movie called Kumbalangi Nights, which I
Very
did not
nice.
like, which I did not like at all, because the narration of a person with mental illness was different. And there was this movie called Three, which was again where they abruptly ended that this is the end of life. A person kills himself, and there is family not in picture at all. So these are differential descriptions, and definitely we have to take it up and advocate that this is not the appropriate representation. Creating safe space and addressing our own stereotypes. These are the first few steps. And if possible, create mad pride everywhere. There are organizations. Banyan does that in Chennai every year. Maybe in Kerala also people should take up mad prides where they just go. It's just not mad pride and a parade, but people go with sloganeering and awareness materials on what how stigma influences their life. So it's very important for inclusion as well. So there are broader strategies, there are smaller strategies, and we can engage and connect wherever we want to. So with this, I conclude.